EGM Network.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Get close to Palm Sunday for you folks that want to go out and grab some palms this Sunday. Don't forget it. And the other thing is, this is Sir Paladin. We sell third-party tax certificates, which I'm sure most of you folks are already aware of. And I'm here with Evergreen Media. And as you know, I never leave home without my American Express card, and I will never do a podcast without Jesse James here. Jesse's always on top of his game.
Hey, thanks, Bill.
He's like the miracle worker, you know? So this is podcast number 8, and Red Sox, 1967. Who wore number 8, Jesse?
Oh, man. Don't know.
Kyle Yastrzemski, Captain Kyle, right?
Yes, all right. I've
Took
heard
us
of
to the
him,
World
yeah.
Series. We almost won it. We should have won it, but it didn't work out, you know? So moving on with the podcast is supposed to be about truth and facts, okay? I dig for the truth, and I just try to give you the facts about it, and not try to make it too long of a podcast if we can avoid that. This is, you know, of course, this is the number 8 podcast because Kyle Yastrzemski is number 8.
Yeah.
And this is Wake Up America with Bill Crafton. And to introduce myself once again, I'm not a Dem, I'm not a Republican, I'm an American. And as Americans, I think the political system needs to treat us a lot better than it has been. And one of my most admired folks is Ronald Reagan. And we have a little video of Ronald Reagan in his goodbye presentation to America.
I've spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace. A city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. That's how I saw it and see it still.
Thank you, Mr. President. NASA, global warming video image. Basically, we'll show you that, and I'll be showing that at every show because it's not going to get any better burning fossil fuels.
No, yeah. There's a visual representation of how hot the globe has gotten from 1880 to 2020.
Thank you, Jesse. Man, what a backup guy. That's unbelievable. Yeah, jump in
Going from
anytime,
blue to
Jesse.
There you go. It's definitely gotten warmer.
Yeah. Hey, this podcast is going to review the abuse of presidential pardons. Okay, and once again, please pass all these podcasts off to your friends, and we'd like to get it around so people are aware what's going on in their country by their government. And recently, Mr. Mueller, the Attorney General, Special Prosecutor, passed away, and we have something to show you about that.
Former FBI Director Robert Mueller has died. Mueller's family said he passed away last night. Mueller was the second longest serving FBI director in history. He took over 1 week before the September 11th terrorist attacks and served for 12 years. Later, he was named special counsel in charge of investigating ties between Russia and Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Mueller ultimately found there was no criminal conspiracy between Russia and the campaign.
And we have the next one coming
part
up.
2. Yeah.
President's comments regarding to this gentleman.
Meantime, President Trump is weighing in on Mueller's death, saying, quote, "Good, I'm glad he's dead." The short social media post goes on to say Mueller can no longer hurt innocent people. Several key figures from Trump's 2016 campaign and inner circle faced various charges as a result of Mueller's Russian collusion investigation. Among them were Trump's 2016 campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, his national security advisor, Michael Flynn, and his lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen.
We have Paul Manafort. He was presidential's working with him, and he was dealing with the Russians while they were campaigning, and I think he was convicted, and he was pardoned by the president. And then we have another one coming up.
Yeah, so we've got the graphic for Reagan. looking on as Trump goes.
The graphing for Ronald Reagan. My thought on that, when I see Ronald Reagan looking over Donald Trump's shoulder, and I really wonder up there in heaven what he would really think about this president and his behavior and how he runs the office. Obviously, these two gentlemen are not cut from the same cloth. Totally different. Yeah. And I suspect that Ronald Reagan, being the most popular Republican president in the modern day, might be being used as a marketing tool by Trump. Because, he's a pretty shrewd marketing guy. He see Ronald Reagan, so try to hook me up with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan's a great guy, so I get his picture up there. I must be a great guy. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Is that using Ronald Reagan as a marketing tool because he doesn't seem to do the types of things Ronald Reagan did as he was president. Yeah. Thank you, Jess.
Yeah. All right. So you want to go to the video of Paul Manafort getting pardoned. All right.
And President Trump issues more than 24 pardons, among them former campaign chairman Paul Manafort and political consultant Roger Stone. Manafort was found guilty of financial crimes related to his work in Ukraine. Stone was convicted of lying to Congress. The president also pardoned Charles Kushner, the father of son-in-law Jared Kushner. The elder Kushner served jail time after pleading guilty in 2005 to tax evasion and making illegal campaign donations.
What I think is really wrong with this type of stuff is how can a president go out and pardon people that commute crimes on his behalf? The rule of law, that shouldn't be allowed. Anyway, so moving on, we have Michael Flynn.
President Donald Trump said he's pardoned Michael Flynn, his first national security advisor, who had pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. The president made the announcement on Twitter.
Yeah, the thing with Michael Flynn, he was working with the FBI, right? And he was basically telling them everything they wanted to know, and then suddenly he didn't no longer cooperate. And I'll have more on that a little later in the podcast.
Stephen, while you were speaking to us, Michael Cohen was walking out of the courtroom, and it was a chaotic scene. We're just going to play it again for our audience at home now. There is Michael Cohen, of course, President Trump's former lawyer, who has just been sentenced to 3 years in prison. He had pleaded guilty earlier in the year to a number of charges, including tax evasion and campaign finance laws that he had broken. His lawyers were saying he shouldn't get any prison time because he was cooperating with the Mueller Russia investigation, but that didn't quite work out. He is now going to prison for 3 years.
You're going to love this. The only guy that told the truth to the FBI, right, was this guy Cohen, and he went to prison.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to 3 years for telling the truth, right? How do you figure this out? And he didn't get a pardon either. He told the truth. Now we're going to have another president's positions on pardon that was before Donald Trump.
I'm extremely proud of my son Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Now, that was President Biden, of course, back in June when asked if he would pardon his son, Hunter Biden. Last night, though, the president issuing a pardon. That move spares Hunter from a possible prison sentence. This after being convicted of a felony gun charge and pleading guilty to federal tax fraud. The pardon clears Hunter Biden of all crimes he has or may have committed starting in 2014.
Well, you can imagine, he must know what Hunter Biden was doing starting in 2014, moving forward. He must have a rap sheet as long as his arm. So that basically probably gets him off the hook. But once again, you can't trust presidents to do the right thing. The rule of law, that doesn't count when it comes to them. So, now my favorite guy coming up is Bill Clinton.
Did you know America's most wanted white-collar criminal bought his way out of prison with a presidential pardon? Mark Rich built a billion-dollar oil empire by secretly trading with America's enemies. While 52 Americans sat trapped in Iranian captivity, Rich was making illegal deals with their captors, selling oil and pocketing massive profits. He dodged $48 million in taxes and used a web of shell companies to hide his crimes across multiple countries. When federal agents closed in, Rich vanished to Switzerland. living like a king while the FBI hunted him for over 15 years. His sophisticated operation involved secret trades with Iran, Libya, and apartheid South Africa. Investigators spent decades building an airtight case, but Rich had one final card to play. His ex-wife, Denise, had been quietly donating millions to Democratic politicians and the Clinton Library. In January 2001, President Bill Clinton shocked prosecutors by granting Rich a full presidential pardon. The billionaire fugitive never spent a single day behind bars, proving that with enough money and political connections, even America's most wanted can buy their freedom.
The Clintons in general are shameless people, and they don't really give a damn about anything except themselves. Bill Clinton in particular, running around with Epstein, number of trips down to his island in the Caribbean, and then the Monica Lewinsky thing. I mean, the guy's bizarre, right? And he was a president of the United States. That's why I'm not a Democrat, and that's why I'm not a Republican. That's clear. I hope they can make that clear to you, because they're all bad. All these parties work to divide us. And basically, we're going to some more a group pardon coming up now.
U.S. President Donald Trump pardoned Rudy Giuliani and dozens of other allies accused of trying to overturn his 2020 election laws. A Justice Department official said on Monday the list also includes former Trump attorney Sidney Powell, as well as his former chief of staff Mark Meadows, former White House official Jeffrey Clark, and former lawyer for Trump John Eastman.
All those guys work for a president, right? And why can the president be allowed to pardon people that commit crimes on his behalf? Makes no sense to me, and we got to find a way to stop that. It's bizarre. Supposed to have the rule of law in this country. It's a slogan. I don't think it's a reality anymore, you know? So, And then we're going on to Mr. Flynn here, if we can. Just a picture of Mr. Flynn. Mr. Flynn, he's out of Rhode Island, and he was cooperating with the FBI. And then suddenly he changed his lawyer. He got Cindy Powell, one of those people that just recently was pardoned by the president in the previous video. Cindy Powell became his lawyer, and he stopped cooperating immediately. So I'm almost thinking, it's only a guess, maybe she delivered a message to him. Oh, and by the way, he sued the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice has just settled with them for $1,250,000 he's going to get tax-free from the Department of Justice because the president probably directed him to pass the money on to him. So, it worked out pretty good for him, I think. So, and the one that we didn't discuss is Juan Orlando Hernandez, president of one of the Central America countries. He imported 400 tons of cocaine to the United States of America, and President Trump awarded him a pardon because he thought he was a pretty good guy. He's also a very right-wing guy in the South America, so I'm sure that has a little influence. And Nicolas Maduro, the same thing, and we went in and we arrested him. Does this make any sense to anybody? Because it doesn't to me. They all should be in jail. Moving on to the United States surplus surpasses $39 trillion in debt. The latest $1 trillion was added in the last 5 months, and we will hit $4 trillion before the year's out. $40 trillion before the year's out. We might even hit $41 trillion before the year's out with this war that's going on. So the Trump campaign, which I couldn't find any video for you, he had promised, and I remember this, he had promised in 8 years the national debt, which is now going to be $40 trillion. It was about $19 trillion then. He's got to make it zero in 8 years. But right now, he just seems to want to grow it, and that's what he's doing. And we have a link, Jesse. You check for me on the billionaires always on nice things to say. Trump.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
Do you still need $200 billion?
It's always nice to have.
Always nice to have, huh? Imagine that. Hey, I'll take the $200 billion.
Yeah.
And these guys think we're all fools, right? I'll take the $200 billion. We can't pay Social Security. It's in trouble. Medicare is in trouble. Medicaid's in trouble, right? All these things that people kick into are in trouble. But we'll take $200 billion. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I ain't going to give it to the people. I mean, that's my message I got from that. Yeah. Some things the government could do instead of spending $200 billion more on the war, and it's basically you're going to have to pick one. And the source of this stuff is the Century Foundation. I did not think these up on my own. And Jesse, if you would introduce them one at a time, I would like to just make a comment.
Yeah, some things that we as America could spend. Instead of spending $200 billion on war, we could cancel all medical debt in the United States.
Yeah, North Carolina had a program. Every North Carolina resident that they bought up medical debt and bought everybody out for pennies on the dollars. $200 billion could be used the same way to cancel medical debt nationwide in our country.
Yeah, we could be providing free school lunch to all American children.
This is a pick one now. It can't do all these things. I want to make sure you can only pick one of these.
Right.
The $200 billion could pay for over 18 years of free school lunches.
We could be providing tariff refunds to every household in America.
Cash in everybody's pocket. Not bad.
Not bad, right? We could make health care more affordable for millions of Americans.
Ensuring health care coverage for all Americans and save an estimated 68,000 lives.
We could be delaying Medicaid coverage loss for millions of people.
The one big, beautiful bill, the $200 billion, could help to prevent Medicare coverage losses for up to 5.2 million people.
Instead of this Iran war, we could be sending millions of low-income Americans to college.
$200 billion would fully cover annual tuitions for 5 million community colleges students per year for the next 10 years.
Or a decade.
Yeah, amazing. Huh?
Yeah. We could be supplying food assistance to millions of Americans.
That would be covering, the $200 billion would be covering 2 full years of SNAP's annual budget supplies for food assistance to 42 million Americans.
We could be fully funding Pell Grants.
The $200 billion keeps millions of low-income students in higher education.
We could be providing free child care for millions of children.
$200 billion could fund child care for 10 million more children per year.
And instead of this Iran war, we could be doubling school funding for low-income students.
$200 billion could instead more than double Title I funding for a decade. My friend Claudia, that happened to be down with me, she said, those are all nice ideas, but the government will never do that. You can't depend on the government to do good things for the people of America. And I think, Claudia, you might be right. So anyway, I thought I'd let you know that I have an opinion on this besides my own. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to closing remarks. Off we go, Jesse.
All right. So this is a Trump comment here. This is a story about Trump here. I'll let it roll.
In today's Money Watch, the Trump administration is paying a French company $1 billion to walk away from 2 U.S. offshore wind leases. This is part of the White House's campaign against renewable energy. Total Energies has agreed to what is essentially a refund of its leases for projects off the North Carolina and New York coasts. The Department of Interior said the company will invest the money in fossil fuel projects instead. The Trump administration has tried to stop offshore wind construction, but federal judges repeatedly have overturned those orders. Environmental groups denounce this new deal as an alternate way to block wind projects.
If you look at the China versus U.S. podcast, the USA podcast we had a week or two ago, you'll see where we stand on this. And clean energy means cheap energy for electricity, and it means clean air for us to breathe, and it's not going to contaminate the water sources. And then we have this guy, Chris Wright, coming up, right, Jess?
That's right.
Of course, it was an early reactor with some bad designs and a human error, but that shouldn't even be possible to happen But you're right, even with mechanical system design problems, human errors.
Yeah, that's I watched Chernobyl, and that's what the Russian government told their people in Chernobyl, that you don't have to worry, it's safe energy, okay? 3 Mile Island got lucky. They had a hydrogen bubble. The bubble did not expand. HBO, I just recently this week discovered Chernobyl lost tapes. If you want to see how badly the damage could destroy people's bodies, faces, and lives, view HBO Chernobyl last tape. And I'm not getting paid for that plug. And TSA is not being paid, Jesse, right?
That's right.
With TSA officers calling out from work as they go another week without a paycheck.
Where can we help you to move those lines and American people quicker through inspections while at the same time maintaining security at the airport?
The Trump administration claiming ICE agents will help shorten the security lines.
When I've seen them, they've just been standing around talking. So, I don't know that they're that badly needed.
But the union representing the TSA workers who are trained to screen passengers and baggage say this is not the answer.
ICE agents can't work in up a lane and work it. All they can do, like they've been doing, is providing directional support.
Yeah. Tom Holman, I think he still owes the FBI $50K, if I'm not mistaken, Jess. Anyway, but he's getting a lot of publicity here. Yeah. The brown shirts forgot their masks. They're walking around the airport without masks. That's amazing. I thought they had to wear masks, according to the president. And the bottom line with that, why not borrow funds from ICE? The $50 billion budget in the great beautiful bill that they passed, they had $50 billion in the budget for ICE. They could borrow that money and pay these TSA workers. And like I said before in a previous podcast, airlines should fund TSA, airport operations. Simple as that, because it's the benefits the airline, it benefits the flyers. I'm sitting here in Vero Beach, doesn't really benefit me. Moving on to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, just to be clear, the president broke with me over the Epstein files. So that always has to be said. He called me a traitor because I stood with women who were raped when they were 14 and 16. But I do completely disagree where the president has led the country. You know what? It makes absolutely no sense, Pamela, going into midterm elections. Let's remove Donald Trump out of it. Let's just put any president in there. Why would an American president lead his political party into the midterms, waging a full-scale major war, completely unprovoked on Iran, on behalf of Israel? And that's the way most Americans see it. They see this is for Israel, not for America.
Hey, yeah, I can't agree with them more. Basically, on the way in on the radio, I had written down 10,000 targets were hit. I heard on the radio on a particular show, they're saying now it's up to 15,000 targets being hit. I don't know how that's destroying nuclear, but it just seems like they're just trying to destroy everything in the country. And we have this guy, Brendan Carr, the FCC guy.
FCC Chairman Brendan Carr was named to the position by President Trump last year after rising through the ranks at the agency. He's long spoken out against government censorship and for the freedom of speech. In 2019, Carr posted on social media, quote, "Should the government censor speech it doesn't like? Of course not. The FCC does not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of the public interest."
Yeah, that pretty much speaks for itself. So in the movie now we have Katie Couric and talking about Walter Cronkite.
Meanwhile, his son, George W. Bush, who faced even more criticism for the war in Iraq, nevertheless understood the importance of a free press. This is what he said in 2017.
We need an independent media to hold people like me to account. I mean, power can be very addictive and it can be corrosive, and it's important for the media to call to account people who abuse their power.
Because independent media is seen as a threat, attacking and suppressing the press is part of the authoritarian's playbook. So Trump has gone from calling anything he doesn't like fake news in his first term to putting his thumb on the scale to bolster corporate owners who will likely give him more favorable coverage. And now it's bullying outlets with the threat of revoking their licenses. George Orwell once wrote, "Journalism is printing what someone else does not want printed. Everything else is public relations." Looks like the White House only wants good PR and is trying to control the message. But as Walter Cronkite said, freedom of the press is not just important to democracy, it is democracy.
And quite frankly, the press is being taken over by billionaires, and it's not going to be as free as it was in the 50s and 60s when I was growing up, when Walter Cronkite was an institution to himself. And that kind of wraps it up, Jesse. I just want everybody to know I'm going to be attending the No Kings event as an observer, and I'm going to be holding up my sign there where it says, billionaires don't pay taxes.
There you go. All right. We'll see you there.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Once again, this is an important podcast. We encourage you to share it. Please forward this podcast to every contact you have. The midterm election is critical to the survival of our country. The podcast should be treated as a chain letter. The messages in the podcast need to be viewed by millions of eyeballs. So let's get the ball rolling to restore dignity and respect in our country. Thank you, and you can email the show wakeupamerica@gmail.com. All right, we'll see you next Friday at 1 p.m.
That's right. Coming up to East, everybody.
All right. Take care, everybody.